Welcome to the second video in my Intro to Tarot series. Today we're going to be discussing how to cleanse our decks before we begin to really start to use them in spreads and draws. This is an important step, and if you've watched the first video in the series, you've actually already worked with one form of cleansing your deck. And that's by going through the deck and holding and using and looking at each individual card and connecting with the energy of that card. That's one way of cleansing the deck of any other energies it may have come into contact with and aligning it with your own energies. There are several other ways of cleansing your deck also, and they're all equally important and can be beneficial for cleansing your deck before you use it for the first time, and also to cleanse it just as you go along in your relationship with the deck. You're going to find after you do certain readings for other people that you feel like it's really important for you to cleanse the deck. And even as you go through certain things in your own life, there are going to be times when you know that it's necessary to cleanse the deck of previous energies, just to keep your relationship on good footing. So we're going to talk about some of those ways to cleanse your deck today. Now, we've already discussed one of the ways that you can do this, and if you haven't gone through and worked with each card in the deck, and I don't mean actual working, I just mean touching each card in the deck, you're going to do that through this cleansing process that we're going to do together right now. So don't worry about that. But remember to use what feels authentic to you as far as cleansing goes, and also what aligns with your spiritual beliefs. I come from a pagan background. That's my spiritual path at this time, and so a lot of what I do aligns with those energies. And if that doesn't feel right for you or authentic, then feel free to work with whatever spiritual energies and cleansing energies that you want to and that feel right for you. So let's get started by cleansing our deck. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is actually my working altar. This is a sacred space for me, and so it's a space that I always cleanse my decks at and do all kinds of workings at. So that's what we're looking at right now, because that's where I choose to cleanse my decks. So you want to get set up wherever it feels right to you to cleanse your deck. The deck that I'm going to show you to cleanse with today is the Goddess Tarot deck. And I like to use a mixture of the elements as I'm cleaning the deck. So I'm going to have the elements represented here. And one of those elements is going to be fire, so I have a tea light in this owl holder, so that fire is going to be present. Air is going to be present because I'm actually going to use I'm going to use white sage to cleanse the deck. Lavender sage is also a great way to cleanse your deck. I'm going to have water represented by having some shells present. And I'm going to have earth represented by having some stones present as well. So we have all of these set up, and again, you may choose not to do this, that's fine. You may choose to just use the sage. Sage is an excellent way to cleanse anything in your life that needs to be cleansed. It's very purifying, and it leaves no room for negativity, so it's an excellent way to cleanse, and you may choose to just use that, and it's a wonderful way to cleanse. If you don't have sage, incense will work really well. Will work well also. Excuse me. A lot of times, frankincense and myrrh is an excellent cleansing incense. When I don't have white sage, I actually end up using Nag Champa. I know that doesn't. I don't know. It's pretty much everyone has Nag Champa incense, but I actually find that it's a very healing and cleansing way to get my deck's energy renewed and aligned with my own. So you can choose to use whatever you want for that. I'm going to light my candle now. And it's preferably you should use matches, but if you happen to just have a lighter on hand, then you can do that. That's what I have on hand today. So you're going to light that candle. And then I'm going to light the sage. I'm not going to use lavender sage today. I'm going to use white sage. It's very important to be very gentle with the amount of sage that you're lighting. So you want to start with just a little bit, and if you find you can see it smoking there, just a little bit. I've only lit a small section in the center. This will last. Blow out any flame. Make sure you do that if you're new to working with sage. This stuff is intense and it will last the whole cleansing process, and it's going to really scent the area that you're working in. So if you live in an apartment or something like that, you want to be careful about that because people do mistake it for pot a lot. Okay, so I have this all set up, the elements, and I have my sage going, which represents the element of air and is very cleansing. So I take my deck in my right hand because that's my receptive hand because I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, then you want to have the deck in your left hand. I hold the deck like this, and I just connect with the energy of the deck, and I connect my own energy with that by holding the deck and by sitting and again breathing and grounding like we did in the first video. And then I just have a conversation with the deck myself internally. It doesn't need to be spoken out loud unless you want to. Just acknowledging and honoring the deck itself, and that I wish to work with the deck, and that if it is right and for the good of all, may our energies align now so that we can work together. If I've already been working with this deck, I say so that we can continue to work together. Then I hold each card, and I'm going to do this for each of the 78. I won't videotape all of that because that would be a lot to watch. I hold each card over the sage and the flame, the shells and the rock. Okay, being careful not to light anything on fire. That's why I used a tea light, and it's in a deeper holder. And I make a shape of the lemniscate as I'm doing this. That's the shape of infinity. It just feels right to me. You can use whatever shape you want, or you don't even have to move the card. You can just hold the card over the sage and the candle, or whatever feels right for you as the cleansing object. And then I just set the intent, and I speak, or I say it quietly if there's other people at home and I don't want to be bothering them, that I cleanse, clear, clean, and align with the energies of this deck, working only positively, not negatively. So I do that for each card, and I set them aside on the other side of my working area. So I do that for each card, setting that intention that the deck be cleansed, cleared, and cleaned, and that my energies and the deck's energy align for positive workings. So I go ahead and do that with all 78 of the deck, cards in the deck. Then when I finish with that, I hold the deck as a whole in my hands, and I move them over the representations of the elements again, and I happen to use the shape of infinity, but you can use what works for you, or you can just hold the cards over this. And I state the intention that our work be positive. I thank and honor the energies associated with the deck, and I ask that our workings be positive and that we continue to work together for as long as it is right and necessary. So with that being said, then I'm done cleansing the deck, and I set the deck aside. I'm just going to turn the camera now. So the deck is cleansed and it's ready to be used now, which is very exciting. But now you can think about how you want to store the deck. I've mentioned in the previous video that I leave all of my decks outside when I'm at home. I don't mean outside, I mean out. I leave them out in my sacred area. I like for them to be open to all of the energies that are going on and to my own energy, and I think it's easier for us to work together because we're more in communication when I can see them whenever I'm in my space. And I energetically can feel the energy of my decks, and each one is different. So as soon as I step into my space, I know which deck I'm going to be working with that day because I can feel the energy that's aligning with mine. However, most people that work with tarot say that the cards should be kept put away and in some kind of a sacred vessel, whether that's a wooden box or a drawstring pouch or a silk scarf, something like that. So if you feel that that's right for you, you want to make sure that you have one of those things available to place the deck in once you're done cleansing the deck. If you are using some kind of receptacle to hold the deck when you're not working with it, you also want to make sure that that's cleansed as well. Just so that, the deck that you've just cleansed isn't picking up any negative energy from the pouch itself or the container or box or whatever it is that you're using. So these are kind of mundane things in a way that you have to figure out as you're starting your journey with your deck. They're still enjoyable to work with and to discover what works with you, and it definitely is a process. What you use the first time with your first deck may completely change. Like I said, I ended up just finding out for myself relatively quickly, but not the first time with the first deck, that my decks needed to be outside where I could feel their energies and see them and really, really get comfortable working with them. So those are important things to figure out, and especially the day you sit down to cleanse your deck for the first time, you want to kind of, sorry, that's my puppy. You want to have an idea of what you're going to be doing with that already, so that as soon as you cleanse your deck, if you're not going to start working with it right away, you know where you're going to be putting the cards. If this cleansing ceremony or ritual doesn't seem to work for you and it's not what feels right for you, then try and see if just holding each of the cards individually and then holding the deck as a whole feels right cleansing wise. If that feels like it's good enough for you, then work with that. If you feel like you still want something else, then just you can try holding the deck and setting a very clear intention that the work be sacred and correct and honor all that are involved. And you can do that through whatever deity you work with and align with and feel is your truth. And that's an effective way of cleansing the deck as well. So there are many ways that you can cleanse your deck, and it's important to figure out what works for you. And it isn't a one-time thing. You will find time and again that you are going to be cleansing your deck and that it's necessary to do so. So this has been the second video in the Intro to Tarot series. In the next video, we're going to start talking about the major and the minor arcana, the court cards, and doing a daily draw or a 3-card spread to get yourself started and getting comfortable working with the cards themselves. Thanks for watching.